Welcome to another match analysis video. This one's going to be very different from the first one. Instead of leading clan members, I'm leading blueberries. Instead of two very good teams, we have two fairly average teams. And instead of a very quick game with constant spawn shifting and a quick roll, this is going to be a longer, stretched out, kind of stalemate style game in which we spend a lot of time on defense holding the midpoint. Rather than demonstrating kind of a perfect example of mobility and how it can dominate games, this one's going to be a better example of decent defense, blueberry management, and kind of an analysis of other squads' play style on offense. Just like last time, I'm going to be showing the entire staging phase. You'll notice that I do have one clan member who joins the squad. It's not a perfect me plus 8 blueberries, but it is fairly close and it's fairly representative of what you can expect. And the map is CAF Belaya RAAS v2, and we are playing as Op4, which is Militia.
Advance and secure. Выдвинуться и закрепиться в районе.
Ready?
Oh yeah.
Squad lead, do I need a mic?
Yes, sir. You know it. Okay, we're gonna grab a techie and a logi techie. Grab the two closest to move mark. You guys all have mics?
Yo.
If you don't, leave now or forever. Hold your pace. Go for the techie to my right.
Oi.
The one that 3 didn't claim. Move mark, guys. Grab it fast before it's gone. Okay, hop in one of the Vics. Logi's full, everybody else hop in techie on move mark.
Different RPGs have different answers.
Yes. Oh, that one. There. I honestly don't know. I don't play LAN. Oh, fuck
What
it.
the hell does that thing shoot
Fuck
over
it.
there? That gun looks fucking crazy.
So we're not taking the rocket truck.
Hey, normally I'm a medic.
That thing looks fucking
MI8
wild.
Fucking looks
God,
like a
look at it,
submersible.
looks like-
Damn mortar, dude.
Seriously, dude.
They mount them.
Now, I have not talked about RAAS in any of my guides, so I'm going to give the briefest summary I possibly can. First of all, your goals are the exact same as AAS. Backcap efficiently, and pile as many people onto the mid as possible. However, of course, it's made more complicated by the fact that you don't know where the backcaps or the mid is. A lot of inexperienced people will just take a full squad to the first flag, capture it, move on, capture, etc. until they meet contact, but ultimately, the safer strategy is to contest as many of the midpoints as early as possible to make sure you have that map control, and then have dedicated backcappers backcapping as quickly and efficiently as possible, covering as many potential backcaps as they can before they appear. Of course, this involves having an idea of where the flags are going to go, which can be very difficult. A lot of people know simply through a lot of experience, and a lot of people have done independent research, such as myself, and know everything about every lane and every potential flag point. I'm going to be releasing my independent research probably not soon, probably a little bit down the road, because I want to put it in a particular format, and I've been working on that for a while. But for now, let me give you a brief summary of how it works. Right off match start, if there are lanes on the RAAS layer, the server is going to select a lane. In this instance, there are lanes. They can go east, central, or west. At that point, once it has selected the lane, it is going to have several nodes of potential objectives, meaning that the very first backcap you see there, Lumberyard, is one of several possibilities for whichever lane that flag is in. Then it's going to go to the next node, which is going to be a rough area of the map in which there are several other possibilities for the second flag. There's always going to be the same number of flags, so once the first flag has been captured, you don't have to worry about any other flags in that node. It's going to go to the next node and randomly select an objective there. Now, understanding which flags are in which nodes can give you an extreme advantage. For example, in Belaya RAAS v1, which shares all of the same flags as this layer, Lumberyard confirms that it's going to go to an east lane. However, there are some experimental changes that were made to specifically CAF RAAS layers in the last patch, in which they completely stripped out lanes. So this RAAS, Belaya CAF RAAS v2, has the exact same flags as Belaya RAAS v1, but all of the lanes have been entirely removed. So despite the fact that an east lane would clarify my midpoints to be Nicola East or Caracol, that does not apply to CAF in particular. I still have to account for every single possible midpoint. Now, as I mentioned, you can find all of this out through either the firing range or the squad SDK. However you want to do your independent research, you can figure this out, and I will eventually be releasing my research. For now, the important thing to understand is that this is a 5-flag layer. The first flag has been confirmed to be Lumberyard. The second flag can go anywhere from Gabuke to Coal Mine to Train Tunnel to Red Snow Ridge, which I will mark on this map. And then the midpoint is actually fairly interesting. Once again, lanes don't apply, but in RAAS V1, 3 out of the 3 flags in the central lane are Nicola. They have Nicola West, Nicola, and Nicola East. Similarly, in both the east and the west lane, there are 2 potential flag options, one of which is still Nicola on each side, meaning that 5 out of the 7 potential midpoints are going to be in Nicola, making it a very safe guess for an early game rush. So using this information, as you can see on the map, I have chosen to cover the northwest side of Nicola. My ultimate goal here is to try to get another Blueberry squad to build a south fob on the other side of Nicola, which is why I have gone for the very corner here, in order to leave enough space for them to build a second fob inside. Similarly, I also have a light vehicle this round that I'm going to be sending on backcap, since I trust myself to do that more than I trust another squad. If I do not offer to take backcaps, it's possible that an entire 9-man squad with a Logi, which is an incredibly important early game asset, will be spent driving to Lumberyard, sitting there for a long time, driving to the next flag, which could be very far away, sitting there for a long time, and ultimately not working towards map control of potential midpoints until very, very, very late in the game. In the intermediate guide in which I talked about vehicles, I recommended not taking light vehicles from main very often, and that was mostly because I like to have them on standby for rallies should spawn wipes occur. But as my gameplay has progressed, spawn wipes have become less common, the meta around building spawns has become faster and easier, and ultimately I do tend to take a light vehicle with me pretty much regardless of circumstance now, specifically to have the flexibility to send it on backups and be able to cover both things so that I'm not really leaving any crucial task to the rest of my team. So with all that you know now, watch the way I interact with command chat and watch the way that I try to get the team to do things that I consider to be useful. Bear in mind that while I'm talking to them, I am kind of reciting my independent research by memory. I don't actually have it pulled up and I'm not actively looking at it, so you're going to hear me make a couple of mistakes in regards to the number of midpoints and that kind of stuff, as well as actually forget the name of Nicola, embarrassingly.
MI8.
Okay, I'm going to head to... I forget the name of that
Dude,
point.
imagine like
Most of
working
the
for like
midpoints are on my
Toyota, and then some dude like in Adidas comes in and says, "Yo, man, I need to purchase that." And then
I'm also going to hit back
you
up.
know it's you, they put a fucking.
If somebody
they
can
put
go
that
south
shit
on this point, that's really nice. If someone can go to that
Yeah,
front
man,
mark.
they send you back pictures
4
like,
out of
hey
the
man,
6
thanks for
midpoints are
that
in
car,
that
dude.
town.
Look what we ended up doing to it.
I'd like to buy
we need
8,000
this
Toyota.
Toyota. Oh, bro, you don't even know. Gotta fucking kill some Canadian.
It looks like what I would
Swag on
envision, what like submarines would have
Swag
to
on
propel
what?
Okay,
them.
techie,
Swagging
driver,
on.
you have a mic.
that shit.
I need unmarked
Driver
Toyota
Cavini.
Tacoma.
Why the fuck y'all in this Vic though?
Bonjour,
Incendiary
Okay, drive to
No.
Lumberyard, please. Drop one person off
You
there, drop
fucking-
the rifleman off. No range.
You go to Pimp My Ride, right? And they take your Toyota, and then they fucking put that campaign and that thing on it.
Are
and like,
we-
oh shit.
Are we setting up into different squads? What's the play here?
The play is, I am heading to my move mark here. The techie is handling back caps. You're going to drop one person at Lumber, the rifleman, and then you're going to drive to Gabuke, which is this town here, on 2 move,
thank
or 2
God, bro.
point
Oh,
of
I
interest.
love the cocky.
That's a potential second back cap. If it doesn't go there, then drive to wherever the second back cap is. It can also go over to train tunnel or something. And after that, you're going to meet back up with us. Those of us in the Logi are heading to move mark. We're going to build
Wait,
there,
why was
then
that
head into the city, except for Lightyear. You stay in the truck with me. We're going to head somewhere else. Now, one important note here is that traditionally, right now, I would have Icy, my clan member, driving the techie, so that I could simply quick rapid fire tell him the names of second points, and he already understands what my goals are here. You can drop the first person off there, and then he can start working towards efficiently dropping people at other backcaps and do it himself, and take a little bit of the pressure off me. But ultimately, that would kind of take away from the point of leading blueberries, and I need to trust some things to other people and show how I do that, and make a video more geared towards the average infantry pub SL, rather than trusting essential tasks to people who have played with me for hundreds, if not thousands of hours. This is going to be a recurring theme through this video. There are going to be several times where I need one person to get to the truck to come with me for fob building, and 9 times out of 10, if I was leading mixed clan and blueberries, this would be clan members, and I would be asking in Discord, not even squad chat. But for the sake of this video, I am committed to using blueberries. Now, as we start to roll out, I've already covered the main bases, where I'm going to go initially and the first back cap, and I'm starting to consider my options past then. One thing that I'm worried about is the second back cap. Train tunnel is currently a possibility for the second back cap, and it's both very far away from where my techie is initially going for the first back cap, and is not being covered by a squad, which it kind of normally is. A lot of the time militia will rush that regardless of what they understand about RAAS. One of our potential second back caps is train tunnel. They may rush that, so we may be a little bit fucked if that happens, but just bear in mind we can stealth cap it, so I will work on that if that's what ends up happening. Marks are about to disappear when I take commander, so memorize where you need to be. Now, a second thing that I'm worried about at the same time as this is the potential for the midpoint not to go to Nicola. There are 2 other places it can go, one on the east and one on the west, and the one on the west is fairly close to train tunnel itself. So what I'm mentally preparing myself for, and what I just explained to the rest of my team, is to head immediately west after placing my midpoint fob and then trying to cover the train tunnel / west midpoint area, which is industrial yard. I'm hoping that by the time I get there and actually place my fob, the first cap will be fully captured and we'll be able to see where the second flag is, and I will see if I need to go there. And if it has already been rushed by the Canadians, well, train tunnel might actually hold the record for the easiest point to stealth cap in all of squad, so I'm not too worried about it. If any of you don't know what a stealth cap is, unless the enemy has contested the flag after the one you're trying to capture, then you can capture it regardless of how many enemies are in there as long as you get 3 people. Which means I can set a quick rally, go hide a few people in a bush, and pretty much negate their entire team's rush. I'm going to jump ahead to when we place the fob. So Lightyear, you're going to stay with me after we place this and we're going elsewhere. Other guys, You guys push into the city and let me know what you find. They're likely to rush this point as well. If you can be sneaky and just tell me where they set up, that might be better than just the 2 of you taking them on alone. Only dump 200 off the truck, please. 200 build, 200 ammo.
Yeah, copy.
So what's cooler
Hop
train,
back in with me, Lightyear.
Yeah, yep, copy.
Coal mine, train, Gabu. No. Yes, I think.
It's colon train, according to the spreadsheet, defaultism we've made.
It can go Gabu. I don't know. The lanes, don't rely on the lanes, because CAF has no lanes. It can go to any of the lanes.
Oh, we're on CAF, never. I'm playing retarded. Never mind. You're alright, you can go literally every...
Now, as you can see, the back cap pops up right in front of us, Red Snow Ridge. Now, it is insanely important to have efficient back caps, especially in RAAS. Even in AAS, it can give you a lot of time in which you can cap the midpoint uncontested, even if the enemy outnumbers you, which can give you the time you need to really work the rest of your plan. And on RAAS, it will tell you when the midpoint is early, which is incredibly useful. Because of this, I am now abandoning my attempt to push the west midpoint in favor of going there to immediately start the back cap. Similarly, because I still expect the midpoint to pop up in Nicola at this point and that objective is so insanely close, I do want to fob it, just in case of a worst case scenario. And I have a ton of supplies on this truck. Militia lodges are insanely fast, militia habs are cheap. I'm not too worried about expending the supply on a point that may not come into play during the match. It's worth the security to me while I'm already there backcapping anyway. Now from here, nothing too interesting happens. I drive up, I start capping, I place my fob. There's a little bit of infantry on the south end of Nicola. The other squad that offered to go to the south of Nicola gets there, sets up their fob, and we're starting to have decent map control, and Nicola looks pretty good. And I start to finish up the cap on Red Snow to see where the midpoint is actually going to show up. Oh, and another Logi truck pulls up to our Red Snow fob and dumps a ton of supply, which I then use to restock my truck to what I took out of main. Oh, it's Caracal. Okay, Techie, start heading there. Strill and other guy hop into Techie right now, and you guys push that fast. And then Norangel and Lightyear, when you're done building, hop in Logi.
Yeah, copy.
Techie, you're going to want to go up and around this way. It's going to be far safer than going the other way. It's usually safe to assume that the enemy team's backcaps are not as efficient as our backcaps, especially when I got to that second cap so fast and our first one was so close out of main, and as such I want that full techie to dive bomb directly into the cap. I doubt that the enemy team pushed that position, and ultimately I want to start cap as soon as possible and understand whether or not it's clear. My Logi will either join them if it's clear and push directly in, or will hold off if they actually meet contact. Those of you who are spawning on the first hab we built, hold your spawns once you die, and then spawn on the fob we're going to build on Caracal. Thank you. As predicted, the techie makes it in fine, so I drive directly in to build my first defensive fob. At this point, usually in RAAS, when we get the mid, I'm oftentimes considering making a quick push for the next flag in line, because generally with the information that I have about RAAS, if I'm able to make my team listen to me and make them understand what I know, we almost always have a pretty extreme time advantage on the enemy. But in this particular instance, I don't really feel too comfortable with the way the map looks, and my ability to get to the next flags in line quick enough to matter. So I'm pretty much committing to a full midpoint defense at this point, while keeping my eye open for other opportunities. Same deal, once we're done building, hop back in. I'm going to build a couple more fobs around this area. And same deal, drop 200, 200.
Yeah, just let me know when.
It's up. Now at this point I'm switching into the defensive mindset. I'm starting to look at the terrain, I'm starting to decide how I want to build my spawn network, where I want to get my fobs up, and where I want to position my infantry. As such, the first thing I want to do is start pushing some people southwest to meet the enemy. We know they're spawning in Nicola, we know they're in that general vicinity, and the most likely approach for them right now is that they cap their second to last flag and immediately take a Logi straight up the east road towards us, which is essentially what I want to prepare for, so I make that call to my team.
It's up, squad.
This is a fairly easy point to defend, guys,
Usually
if you
there's
want to
a
get
hab in
good
that general
eyes
area.
around this ridge.
Oh, that's their logi we hear, I think.
Proxy,
Yeah,
enemies on hab.
They're taking down our hob.
Alright, immediate, very bad position. I'll admit I was not expecting this whatsoever. I expected something to come up the road where I already have a bunch of people positioned who are watching, or I expected something to be loose and wishy-washy, kind of spreading across Nicola and maybe intermittently contacting us. The last thing I expect right now is a full squad in the west, kind of on the snowy terrain, not on the road, not quite past Nicola, somehow making it past the blob of blueberries we have. So obviously we're caught with our pants down. And in this frame you can see a Canadian, and that's why I paused it here, because my immediate thought process now is we're under contact, we need a spawn, because I have not successfully got a spawn up besides the hab that just got proxied. Whenever we get spawn wiped, which I'm considering this immediate proxy to be, I am immediately prioritizing survival as the SL in order to get a rally to contest it back.
Yeah, they're out here.
If we freeze frame on map, you can see I have no immediate close people to me for a rally. I could potentially move out the east, but I have to vault that wall and I don't like my odds. I'm probably going to get shot in the back. And at this point I've had a brief moment to think about what we're actually up against, and I have not yet determined that it's a full squad. I said that earlier, but that's post-commentary, that's with what I know now. At the moment it seems far more likely to me that this is two guys who have stretched somehow 400 meters off a west fob, who have kind of found their way to us and are proxying. With all that considered, I decide that I'm actually going to try to kill one of them and unproxy fob to get the spawn up. I'm going to take that risk.
They're coming across from the back squad lead.
Yep. There's two that I can see. Timberwolf as well, 3. Shit.
Out back, the cap.
I'll try to come from the closest the fob. Hey, we're on the
Yeah, there are a bunch of dudes over here.
took,
I know where they're at.
Took the wheels off their Logi.
And I am down. Spawn off that west fob.
Save yourself, homie.
No, there's no better time for self-reflection than while you're lying dead in the dirt. Taking a look at the map here, I just want to reiterate how much this surprised me, the fact that people were there. I felt very comfortable with the people that we had on the south border watching the road, the techie we had down there, the fact that we had a west fob that would have been contested and would have been a juicy target for anyone, and the fact that that northwest road is almost entirely inaccessible by the people spawning on the north side of Nicola. The likelihood of somebody actually getting a logi and getting an attack in there, or for infantry on foot to be able to resist all of the goodies around them and push directly to us, was ultimately very slim. I think what happened was there was just a disciplined SL on that team that somehow managed to spawn at their western Nicola fob, wherever it was, and push across to get a rally while maintaining stealth and while making sure that his people were not engaging the people close to his north or south. And ultimately, I am not worried about this whatsoever. This is actually going to be kind of a recurring theme on the rest of this match, are times in which it looks like we are entirely fucked, where it looks like we've completely lost the flag, and yet I am not at all whatsoever concerned. There is no way in hell that the enemy that's proxying our fob right now is going to sustain that. There's no way it's more than 9 men. There's no way that they are going to be able to full cap before the several spawns all around them and the infantry SLs pushing from those spawns get rallies and collapse in on them, especially with the fact that we have a very solid idea of roughly where their rally is, if they even have one, all while they need to be contested and pushed into a small compound to destroy our fob. Their hands are as tied as their hands could possibly be, and we completely surround them in terms of spawns and have additional manpower. I am not whatsoever worried about them removing all of our cap on the midpoint and then fully capping it and exposing our defense objective before we deal with this threat. However, it is a setback, and it still annoys me that this happened. Now let's look at ways that I could have prevented this. I could have dropped a rally outside to the northeast before driving the truck in. I could have encouraged my blueberries to spread out and gain more map control and push west early, while one of them built the fob rather than allowing them to cluster in the way that they did. And I also could have pulled the logi truck immediately out, as was my initial intention, and gotten the one person that I wanted back in the truck to get back into the truck earlier and not help the rest dig. That would have brought me and the logi safe to the east before this happened. Now, if we look at the reasons why I didn't do this, it was predominantly down to what I just said. My reasonable amount of confidence that there wouldn't be anyone there. The flag wasn't being captured. It was solid neutral. We had a techie going in first. That's possibly the biggest reason I did this, and they basically drove straight through the cap with no problems. And last of all, our western fob, our control of the map to the west of this point. It's not perfect, but it controls most of the roads and most of the traditional angles of attack, so I'm fairly confident that people wouldn't be able to get past that. That third reason ultimately ends up being the thing that saved us. It's the fact that we have other spawns close, which in turn acted as a way to bail us out of our bad situation, the fact that the other squads had placed that spawn there, and so in the end there wasn't really any harm done. But if you stop to consider what this might have looked like if those spawns hadn't been constructed, it would have been a whole hell of a lot worse. And so I need to ask myself the question, how do you improve? What do you do in the future to not run into this situation again? Whenever you consider these kind of things, you can't just take one experience into account. You have to consider your odds overall. For example, if you're playing poker and you fold the worst hand of the game, 2-7 offsuit, and then the flop comes up and it's 2-2-7, do you regret folding? Well, yeah, in the moment you do, but statistically in the long run, if you use that as an excuse to call with 2-7 every game thereafter, you're going to lose money. I allowed my feelings of safety to let me sit there in the truck a little bit too long and not to pull my guy immediately back and not to try to encourage my blueberries to get map control early. I spent a little time thinking, I spent a little time sitting there considering my fob network, and that ultimately led to really poor timing, to where I was able to get in and place my fob with security, knowing that the flag wasn't captured and knowing that I had my network of infantry, but then I stuck around just too long before getting out of there, and as the attack came and as they pushed when they discovered the mid, I was caught up in it. In the future, I think the best thing to do here would be to encourage people to push and gain map control early and to get the truck out sooner with somebody immediately in it, so that you're less likely to get into this scenario. I could have placed a rally, and that is definitely the safer option, but that represents time. That means that I'm stopping, getting out of the truck, losing my truck's momentum, placing the spawn, and then pushing in, which, Funny, I know it sounds like I'm really counting pennies here, but when you're on defense, especially on a mid, and you don't know, at any second they can discover where the midpoint's going to be and start pushing you, I am desperately playing a time game where I want to get as many fobs as possible up before the first attack, because once the first attack comes, my spawn network is basically what I'm stuck with. So ultimately stopping for that early rally, even though it may seem like it's just 20 seconds, could actually mean the difference between me getting a fob network up before the enemy starts pushing us. And of course, as I said, I would not be trying to justify this if I had just gone to a neutral point where there was no friendlies around, no friendly spawns around, and I had no reason to believe that they couldn't just be 50 meters west. Obviously, in that situation, I would drop my rally point 100 meters away from the objective and then push in. But regardless, this wasn't that kind of a situation. This was easily resolved. It was just a setback, and as predicted, they never stood any chance at actually really contesting this flag with that walk and that shitty rally. We immediately squashed it to the west on our way back while everyone spawned west, and we immediately regained control of the point. These guys probably just started walking from Nicola immediately.
The sniper is on the other side of the road to the 120 southeast
somewhere
area.
that way. I hear him firing. Possibly killed the last one.
Yeah, I just...
Killed the last one. Just in time. We're good.
6, do you have no control over there?
Yep.
Not really.
Just finished the last of them and killed their rally. It was just people walking through Nicola. As things calm down and we rebuild our fob, I'm immediately looking for a new logi. Ours got destroyed in that attack. And normally what I would do, if that was our only logi, is I would just respawn and grab it at main when it respawned and deal with the time cost, or grab a different one. However, fortunately for us, there's a random ass abandoned one to our north. I don't really know the story behind it, but you may be able to piece it together if you look back through the old footage. I just happened to see it. And so I tell my guys generally how I want them to position on defense, and I run to grab it so that I can work on our spawn network. Okay, we're on defense. Just get a nice little spread going through the hills so that they can't pull up on us like that. A couple people watching behind us would not be missed. Check my point of interest marks. I'm gonna get some more fobs up.
Is Chris Cott?
I haven't yet released my defense guide, but one of the basic principles is you want to always have 360 visual coverage. You want to catch every attack before it's on your flag. However, you don't want to extend so far that if an attack comes from the opposite direction, people are not able to push back in time to contest cap range. My defenses are normally way more stretched out than your traditional pub game defense, and this map was really no exception. From here, nothing interesting happens for a while. I'm just directing my blueberries to get my spawn network up and trying to make sure that we are watching all of the angles I'm concerned about. The next attack comes from the exact same location, and it's not immediately certain whether it's a fob or it's a hab, but regardless, I'm going to be sending a certain number of people to go after it and keeping a certain number of people looking in a different direction. You can go ahead and just push, move. If you guys want, you can spawn west where one is and flank it. Just everybody but the 3 people up north start collapsing on move mark and start trying to take care of that spawn. The 3 of you on north, you're doing God's work. Sorry if it's boring. Now that spawn ultimately ends up spewing out quite a few guys, which is when I start turning my attention to the rest of the team. Squad 1 in this situation has kind of been contested on that Nicola push for the entire game, even when the objectives started to appear in different areas, which isn't the absolute worst because Nicola is technically close enough that the fact that they're still pushing that fob technically helps the defense. However, there is that fob directly to their east, which is starting to push us and has enough people spawning on it that it's starting to contest cap range, and it's actually starting to go on the south border towards the fob that I just created. Now, because of the road network and because of the fact that we're fighting on a border fob, there's no insanely easy way for me to do what I would traditionally do, which is to pick up a guy, go behind it, drop a rally. Plus, we already have that west spawn, so there's no real need for me to do. This is still staying within the first stage of defense, as I will eventually teach in my guides, where it's a totally sustainable situation. There is one spawn pushing multiple men towards us. It doesn't matter if we win the firefight, it doesn't matter if we lose the firefight. As long as we know where the spawn is and have a flanking spawn, it will inevitably collapse in our favor as long as we're not working off of as few spawns as them. So ultimately what I try to do is to get one to push east to deal with a spawn so that I don't have to be the one to do it, so that I can focus purely on the block, which is contesting these people and making sure that they take as long as possible to get into cap range. Squad 1, can you collapse on the hub to your east? We're getting kind of fucked on the south border of Caracal.
Yeah,
I can
one
relieve a
dude
ton of
dead.
pressure right now if you go there.
out the first one in town, and then we're gonna move south.
Thank you very much. Now at this point things have been a little hectic on defense. I've been desperately trying to get that spawn network up, and then pretty much as soon as we dealt with that first attack, the second one's coming up and starting to put quite a bit of pressure on us. So this is the first time that I really took the time to consider the rest of the team and to take a break from my specific firefight and really view the match as a whole, which is something that I'm obviously always an advocate for doing. But whenever there's a lot of people pushing the defense, there's a very, very solid chance in your average pub game there's absolutely nobody on the enemy defense. That's probably a completely open flag right now with the number of people we have spawning to the south and how well they're pushing us back. So while I'm also talking to one about pushing this hab, I'm also considering that I probably want to try to get somebody onto offense here. Now, I do not want them to just start walking from the fobs we have and doing the traditional blueberry migration. I want them to do an effective offense with a spawn shift to a stealthy fob somewhere south of it, preferably. So I kind of hint at that in command chat, but I ultimately decided that this round I'm mostly just going to try to do my thing on the defense, make sure we don't lose the mid, and hope that the rest of the team can focus on offense when they get the chance. Also, if a squad wants to start working on offense, if you get a Logi and flank outpost, there's a very small chance they're actually there right now. This enemy team is not patient. Ultimately, with all the easy flanks, our squad ends up wiping out that south spawn point. I believe they do it mostly before most of Squad 1 gets there to help them, so it ended up not being too big of an issue. And while they're all cleaning up, I am getting supplies to possibly expand our spawn network or possibly build an offensive fob with just one other person to ease along the offense. At around this time, I get a call out in command that everybody else is going on offense, so I decide to make sure that my squad is still aware that we're defending with a reminder, try to get another good network to catch any incoming attack, and make sure that ultimately our people don't just walk past the spawn, they just hook down and walk towards offense with the rest of the team in a great migration that I'm not fond of. Okay, every other squad is going on offense right now, so get a really nice net around Caracal. We just wiped the current attack, so just get ready for a new attack to come in from any angle. We need to react to it fast no matter where it goes. I have a drone and mortars, so as long as you guys can find out where they come from and then find spawn, or at least a direction, I can take care of it quickly. We're just going to hold defense with just us while everyone else pushes outpost. I see, is that south road clear up to that point?
I got eyes on a squad pushing from the east of outpost on the blueberry migration towards me.
Okay.
6, you've got a bunch of infantry to your west. What up to me is kind of clear.
Blueberries will handle it, you can help them push it, but nobody else needs to worry about that one. Stay on Caracal, guys. Now right here I want to freeze frame. This is kind of a funny moment in the game where this blueberry tells us we need a squad to defend. But it actually kind of has some significance to it. It really shows you just how different the expectations versus the reality of squad are. When you've been playing for some 2,500 hours, this is what defense looks like if you look at the map. Very, very widespread, very likely to catch an incoming Logi and put rounds into it before it's able to put a fob up, and yet still within the range to be able to walk back to cap range before they're able to start neutralizing. This is, in my eyes, a very healthy defense, especially with the SL external ready to react to anything. Should an attack come in here, well, I could pick somebody up at a fob and go flank it. Should an attack come in here, same deal. I could pick somebody up at a fob and go flank it. I am not tied to the defense and I am not getting bogged down by any attacks, so I am able to direct my guys to counter it and then work on resolving the source of the problem. In this particular example, I am commander, so it's even better because I can UAV and then mortar any spawn regardless of whether or not my guys, because they're just blueberries and because I have a random selection of the community, aren't quite up to the task of flanking it and taking it down in the way that I have in mind. And yet, on the complete other end of the spectrum, I have seen new SLs play Invasion and just place a single fob in a compound on the flag and pile all 9 guys on it, and think that that's defending, and think that the kills they're getting matter, and think that that's not just a situation that's going to resolve itself in them getting surrounded, proxied, and destroyed. When they start thinking in terms of firefights, they start doing milsim-style tactics, and really come together, clustered up, and act like an actual squad, like the title of the game, they immediately get steamrolled. And yet, if this blueberry had seen that on the map, he wouldn't have made this comment. Or if he had even probably seen an SL in the vicinity, he wouldn't have made this comment. I make a lot of commentary about Squad's game design, and I have been known to criticize a lot of updates in the past and the direction Squad has been taking, and I'm feeling optimistic about the future. But the game design is a recurring theme of my videos regardless of whether or not that's about. I had people in Reddit on my last video talking about how they hated the fact that what I was doing was effective, and it sparked a lot of discussions in some internal channels of mine about the game design of Squad and how misleading it can be. So I kind of just wanted to put that out there so you guys could discuss it if you want, because I find this kind of stuff interesting. I'm just going to let the team do it. I could probably take Outpost with a south fob. They're not really going to get the flank on, but... fuck it, we'll do it. I need one person with me in the Logi, whoever's fairly close.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of hesitant to go onto offense here. By the way, I'm not taking my people onto offense. If I go onto offense, what I want to do is build a very close south attack fob, so that the Blu-ray migration can stop and they can actually get an effective spawn likely to take it. But there's issues. I am kind of lazy because I'm running blueberries and it takes a lot of effort to get one person in the truck to do this without everybody else following him. And it does involve time off of the objective, but ultimately the deciding factor for me is the fact that I'm commander, and even if an attack comes, I can still just set my UAV up off of the truck and then bring in my mortars because we're unconventionals, so I decide to do it.
Figure out where they're at.
Yeah, I'm going to take Biffy, we're going to set up an attack fob really close south outpost for our friendlies to use. If you guys take contact from an angle that isn't just the migration that's useless down south, tell me, and I'll probably stop, use UAV off truck, and order it for you before resuming. So just let me know what you guys find.
They built the hab like,
What is this? That sucked. In front of you?
yeah, I mean, not too far away.
Like there?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, that needs to go.
On me, north.
Yeah. I'll strike that with mortars.
Outside, yeah.
I think the UAV has 1k max range,
Is that
so I'm
mark
just going
accurate
to pull
for
this
that?
off and do it real quick.
A little bit further. I'm
Oh yeah, sure.
going there now.
I'm standing up.
Neela, careful. East side of you.
Yeah, I got it.
If you want to just cover
On
for
me,
a sec,
on me,
I'll
on
be
me.
short.
Enemy full squad on my position coming up. Yeah, I'm down.
They have
Just
that
sniper.
Rise on
hab.
hab. I'm going to strike it.
Fog 1 to the south of you. Full squad coming up.
Okay, stay clear. Mortars going down. So the mortars land. My guys make pretty short work of the fob. They were already pretty much on it. I just didn't want to take the chance since I was leaving. We continue down a bit of a convoluted route, and we're coming up from the south to get ready to place our attack fob. Pretty much as I was dropping the mortars, our southeast defensive fob started getting proxied on and off, and it wasn't entirely certain whether it was somebody on the radio or the hab. In the end, we took care of that because we were so promptly able to deal with the north fob because of the mortar strike, and it didn't end up costing anything. It got a little bit sketchy when you're getting attacked from two different angles at once and there's only one squad on defense, but because we had pretty much already dealt with the flank aspect of killing the north fob, we were able to focus entirely on the south, only to discover that it was just people moving up the border from the blueberry migration fob down south that I haven't been worried about the entire time. And so that became quickly sustainable to the point where we're easily handling it. That's not a fob that's close enough to be effective enough for me to be really worried about that kind of an attack. So I am approaching the south here, and I get to finally start thinking about how I want to place this fob. We have an engineer, right? Strill, once I get this fob up, if you want to shift to offense and keep trying to take down the outpost tab, go ahead. Don't turn on the truck right now. It's pretty
I'm just
close.
driving out so they can't see it from the road.
I just don't want them to hear it and then come up these stakes.
Or their radio.
After building a much closer and much better offense fob than our team had, I end up returning back to defense from the new unexpected angle to the south and decide to build a southern external fob since I'm already coming in from a risky angle. Right now, if I lose my Logi truck, it's not the end of the world as I drive past the migrators, and I did ask and get some level of confirmation that they think the spawn's wiped down there. So I decide to build one last external defensive fob and let the attackers go back to doing their job.
Yo, bud, stop being so good at driving. Like right now, this very second, stop.
All right.
No, sir, that was too good.
I'm surprised that they proxied our fob on the south. Normally when they're in outposts, they play stupid and they all just cluster up in it. and you get a few spawns around the outside and it's fucked. They pushed out, killed our entire team. It's a lot of people spawning there.
Yeah, we're down to 168 seconds.
We have the mid, so we have a
Alright,
slight
mortar
buffer
fob
on
is
them.
down. Nice.
Hopefully they don't throw it away with bad KD on offense. We'll see. Oh, they marked the enemy fob right next to ours. We might have just placed it right next to it. That's exactly what happened. Our team started shifting over to our spawn, started pushing the objective, and then the defenders there were actually much more active than I was anticipating. Usually on this flag, they just cluster up on the inside and do that kind of defense I was talking about on invasion earlier and immediately get proxied, and that's what I was hoping for with the building of my external fob here. Building a bunch of external fobs and having an active defense is actually rare enough that you heard me speculate that I thought that they pushed out of the objective and actually just did a good job of countering a push from one direction from their internal fob, which of course was not the case. They had their external fob there. Now we owe a lot to our engineer this game because what he managed to do was spawn in and he found the radio down south and took it out. And from here I'm just going to play the clip of the actual live match because I'm doing a lot of commentary myself since we're kind of bored on defense and we're all taking a look at what's going on over there.
Oh, I just found their radio. RIP.
Ah, nice. That'll be really helpful actually. That's their only external radio, I think. The only other spawn they have is inside and they're gonna get clustered on it. That's why they took it down, just because they had an external spawn that I didn't know about. If you want to hop out here and keep defending, I'm gonna do a quick run.
Put C4 on it.
I might be able to dig up that hab. Re-dig it up.
You can hop out, I'm gonna go back to main real quick, get some more supply. Some ammo specifically. We just killed their
Radio's
external
down.
fob on outpost. The only fob they should have left is the one inside.
Roger that. We're gonna keep pushing from the east.
And we got the fob back
Oh,
up.
it's almost down.
It looks like most of their guns are facing north.
Yeah, they sort of just digged it a bit down and just ran away.
Probably looking for radio, which is kind of hard for them to find.
We have all
now
the
the hab's
western
down.
side as well.
Yeah, that sucks. They still have one external one. But who knows, maybe we'll still take outpost. They do have good defenders who are actively patrolling and trying to take down our spawns and not just getting clustered up in the point. So it sucks that they still have an external fob. If you're able to kill that one sneaky strill, you may just take the entire offense objective for the team.
Yeah, I'll try. I don't have any C4 ID, but I'll try.
Oh. While all the commotion's happening on the offense objective, bad call out comes out from the defense objective.
Yeah, there's a full squad north now.
Okay, everybody push north.
Yeah, we got a hab right close to where the last hab was.
Gotcha.
Oh, I found their other radio. I don't have C4, but I'll dig it down.
Bauer and Biffy, we're still
I'll
on
check them
defense,
too,
guys. I just wanted the sapper up there.
Enemy radio mark.
Okay. Oh.
Lightyear,
Sorry,
fuck,
please
icy, push north to move mark. Rangel, did you call radio?
Oh, we got a fucking
Radio's on.
I didn't see a radio.
Okay, well you have FK if
Radio's
you see
on me.
something.
Thank you.
Radios to your south, squad 4. Alright, so interesting situation. I had a few people push south to deal with the migration fob. I initially had 3 people north, but they have since moved off and I have not been paying enough attention to where my blueberries are at to realize that. And then I had 2 people who weren't supposed to be spawning south start shifting spawns while I wasn't paying attention and was focusing mostly on communication. So this is another example of just blueberry management. This wouldn't be an issue if I was running with my clan, but it is an issue now. This is always going to be a little bit of a problem when I have such stretched defenses. The people on the south running north are obviously going to be late, but they're not so far south that that's a problem. The main problem are going to be the people spawning on the south who are going to take a while to respawn there, but ultimately, I still judge this to be sustainable. They are coming from one spawn, they are close to cap range, but ultimately we have a rough idea of where they're coming from, and we can take care of that pretty easily. And while this is going down, our engineer once again pulls a miracle on offense and takes down a radio, while another squad builds an amazing western attack fob that's very well stretched and perfectly placed on top of the enemy one to flank it from an unexpected direction and promptly take it down. So in a fairly short amount of time, we've gone from having no good offense fob on the offense objective, just shitty rallies, to having 2 very good offensive fobs and wiping 2 enemy external fobs, thus taking them down only to their internal fob. At this point, I think that that objective is going to resolve easily in our favor, and now I just need to focus on making sure that our defense objective doesn't get entirely fucked in the process. Now, I'm not worried about it because of our spawn network, but obviously at the surface level, we are temporarily losing cap, and it does look bad.
Fuck, y'all got destroyed.
It'll be a pretty easy thing. We're on the radio right now. It's just one attack that came in. We'll lose cap for a second, but we'll recover it. Don't worry about it, Garrick. The radio I mentioned was actually left over from an old attack where bad communication didn't let us take it down, and it's misleading. Their spawn is actually to the north, which we'll find out shortly. And what I'm doing right now is just sitting at main, seeing if I need to grab one of these guys who died and have them spawn there for me so I can go flank this north attack fob. But ultimately, I don't think that's necessary with the number of fobs we have in place that already provide great flanks for it. This is yet another example of this theme of the video where things look really shitty if you just look at the game in terms of firefights and it looks like we're going to lose the objective. But in terms of spawns, this is totally sustainable.
Seems like we're losing our cool.
Don't worry about it.
Trying to get in output.
It'll resolve in our favor. We have spawns all around and we just took out their radio. As predicted, things resolve in our favor on defense. It's a pretty easy push. They spend so long trying to dig our fob, which they succeed at, that ultimately they have no chance of contesting any of our other spawns. We push in, we kill them, we're already flanking their spawn. They get wiped, we have the more sustainable position, and they're backed into a corner. And ultimately, offense goes just as well and we start taking it. So I make the call for somebody to spawn at main with me to grab a second vehicle since we lost our techie early game. And at this point I'm anticipating having to move up because we are taking the offense objective and have started to regain cap on our defense objective. And that is basically game. As we clean up the north spawn and bring our vehicles in to relocate, we full cap the next flag in line and that ends it. One thing that's really interesting to note is how few tickets we won by. It was sub 60, which means that if they had close to their full 30 tickets that they lose for losing an objective, we actually would not have won the game if we didn't take the offense point. There was a couple points here where I was considering calling defense only, but it seemed that the offense objective was going more and more in our favor as we grew lower and lower on tickets, so it made sense to double down on it. So ultimately I didn't have to go through the headache of trying to organize getting blueberry squads to pull back onto defense only. In the end, I think we actually owe a lot of this game to this Blueberry engineer, who I hadn't played with before but ended up being very effective, especially on offense. And ultimately, I think that the fact that we broke off defense to build that offensive fob really did a lot for the team. Definitely worth shouting out the squad that built the west fob as well, as that definitely helped with cleaning out the final external defensive fob that the enemy team had and definitely pushed things in our favor. And last of all, I'm going to show you the scoreboard and let you see some of the things I like to say to my squad after a match that's well fought like this one. There we go.
Oh,
we gotta go back up.
Nice. No, we
Nice.
What the?
We actually needed that final flag
GG.
cap to get it. That was the final 60 tickets.
Alright.
We would have lost off KD
60.
if not for that flag cap.
33
Anyway, good
kills.
shit, Strill, on the offense who
33
really
kills.
won it for them.
Dude.
And thank you, Norangel, for watching the
got
North for 20
down.
years
Goddamn.
patiently
What the hell did you guys
and
do?
catching the offense a couple times.
42.
Everyone else, good job. They were good blueberries.
They were.